say someone from Nigeria and then someone who has capacity to execute that idea technology.
I guess that's a perfect segue into Capital Angels. I mean, there's other networking events. Lighthouse hold lots of events, and if you are looking at having a business venture in the ACT, I thoroughly recommend that you get on Lighthouse's mailing list to get in touch with all their events. There's Entry 29, the co-location space, has evenings of fireside chats with entrepreneurs. Great way to meet some of the successful entrepreneurs that have gone before in this town, and we've got a lot of them. ANU Connect Ventures runs events quite frequently. Capital Angels, we ran the Capital Raising Masterclass a couple of weeks ago. Over 100 people attended, and that was prospective investees and investors. It was a very successful event. Capital Angels, what we're doing is we're angels by choice, and we are not representative of all the angels in town, there's no doubt about that, but we are together in a group because we want to provide a forum for companies to pitch to angel investors. And we have, I think, 4 dinner meetings a year. Companies come through Lighthouse, through our own networks. They're looked at if they look like they're at a stage where they would be investor ready or ready for that angel process. They can pitch to those dinner meetings. Whether they get money or not, that's as much about the networks as about anything else. So that's another avenue, and the idea behind having those pitch sessions is to create a more formal place where companies can connect with potential investors. So there's many different ways to develop those networks in Canberra, and the good thing about Canberra is we're very parochial, we're very supportive of our own, and people do like to help the really sensational entrepreneurs that have gone before give back in this town like you wouldn't believe.
And also, along this table, I know there's the informal referrals because, if I can't help you, I'll send you to someone who can. And the same with anybody in this sphere of funding.
We might wrap up there. If you've got any other questions, I'm sure the panel will be happy to answer them a little bit later. But you should definitely get yourself onto the Entry 29 website, their mailing list, because they have coffee meetups every week. They have, bring a plate lunches every couple of weeks as well. So you should definitely do that. Definitely have a look at the Chamber. The Chamber of Commerce actually has a young entrepreneur network, which you should have a look at as well. So there's a lot of them around. You really got to decide where you might want to fit into that picture. So, but we might just quickly wrap up this session.
Sorry. Did it say those names again? I couldn't hear what they were.
Okay, so Entry 29, that's the local co-working space.
29.
Entry 29. That's the local co-working space here, and they have Google Meets, coffee meetups and lunch meetups quite regularly.
They're in Marcus Club.
They're in Marcus,
Yeah,
they're in Children's Street.
Children's Street.
Children's
But
Street.
at the ANU, there's somebody very anxiously down the back.
Okay, so I know that Francis just arrived, so as long as Francis is the one waiting a few minutes, we'll keep going.
We spoke about getting funds and debt. How and when in relation to timelines
They want their money back. Depends. Variable.
That depends. Depending on where you're getting the money from, sometimes you might never get it back. In a worst case. I think Becky already talked about 10 years for a venture capital fund. Angel investors are much more patient. They are patient money. Grant money, obviously they're not going to get it back. They don't want it back.
But we want your reports.
They want your report. Unless they
want the milestones.
That's right, but you're not asking them to repay their loan. Repay their grant.
The grant.
Unless you do something naughty with it, that's fine. And R&D money, obviously, you don't have to get back. You might be able to add something to how long until they want the money back.
Yeah, I probably can't add any more on timeline, but maybe quantum. So earlier stage investment, the higher the return investors typically want. That may be somewhere between 5 and 20 times their investment. And the reason for that is that if an investor invests in 10 businesses, they're going to expect 9 to fail, because that's the reality. Or at least 8 to fail completely, 1 to repay back the funds, and 1 to actually make them a profit. And if you think that they need to be able to make more money than they would make either investing in a blue chip investing, say in bonds, on compound interest. So if you think about it from that perspective, that's the sort of return that's required.
If I can just give you some examples. So one of the companies that actually owns Lighthouse used to be an incubator for small seed fund. Their first investment was done in 2001. We're still trying to get out of it. Some certainly ended faster than that. It really depends, and it depends on the nature of the investor, I think.
But just to clarify, after like a huge dividends year after year, you're sort of waiting for the end game.
Investors tend not, this type of investor tend not to take dividends. They're looking for the exit.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they know it's high risk and high return, but they know to get to the return, you've got to be able to make money, and there's an awful lot of time. You saw that big valley of death where you're not making money. You're burning more than you're earning.
One other thing, don't need it. One other thing I'd like to say, and especially, having worked in state government and Commonwealth government and local government in relation to grant funding, is that you can double dip. You can go sometimes with consecutive grant funding for the same thing through different sources. Some read the fine print, some won't let you. But the ones I've been involved with, for instance, really, especially the ones where you're required to have 50% funding, if you can get 50% funding from another grant, go for it.
Well,
If that's all they're asking for, it's just you don't have to have the money in the bank, but if you can get it for, we had a letter, I remember in one of the last year, we had a letter saying that yes, they've been successful, it's in the process of being organised, bang, good enough for us because we knew these people. So yeah.
Well, DTF money is often used that way.
Yeah, no, the advice we give is definitely you can apply for the same project, but you can apply for the same overall project, just don't apply for the same module.
Exactly.
That's
component,
or
yeah.
component.
So you
That's
might
the
get a
advice we
component
give.
from ICON, and then you might do something through DTF, and then move on to
And that's what happens.
Commercialisation Australia.
And that, if you look at a lot of the DTF projects, they receive some ICON funding first, we move them into DTF. After DTF, they've either gone for seed funding through the ANU or we've taken them to the Capital Angels. So there is, in fact, a bit of a pipeline as to how this all sort of fits together. Okay, I think we might... sorry, one more question?
How much influence in business decisions are investors see?
Sorry, how
How
much?
much influence in your day-to-day business decisions are there?
It depends on the investor you get on board. If you're getting angel investors on board and part of what you're getting is their experience, that could be very involved. There's a lot of companies who benefit enormously. Some very successful companies now who said one of their key success stories was getting some angel investors on who had a lot of business acumen, who spent hours and hours and hours of their time with that business, helping that business get through its hurdles. So it really is a case by case, and it's also what you're looking for. So, you know, I know a lot of angel investors, for example, who look to invest in companies that they can make a difference to, that their skills will value add to. So those types of investors will probably have a lot to do, but they're adding value. If that's not the sort of investor you're looking for, you'd be looking for money elsewhere. So it depends. The answer is it depends.
So they can veto your decisions and say, oh, we have to go this way.
No, that depends on how you structure it. If you make them directors and put them on the board, yes, they can. It depends on how you structure it. And that all depends on the terms and conditions under which you make the investment.
Taking on an investment doesn't necessarily mean they own 100% of the company.
No.
So it depends on how you structure that whole deal. Okay, any other questions? All right, we want to wrap up this